Boker Tov Chavrim, I'm Steve Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live, and just a little while ago, President Vladimir Putin was live on RT News there, and as I listened to his speech, I could not help but think that Vladimir Putin gave one of the best New World Order speeches I had ever heard. His praise, his lavish praise for China, for India, the eastern nations there was overwhelming. And then, of course, right after his praise for China and the Eastern Bloc nations there, he then went on to praise Israel. And, of course, us knowing ourselves that this New World Order system, Jerusalem will be the headquarters, and China is going to be the new world superpower that'll be backing this interest, and of course you couldn't help but realize that a lot of the nations that he's praising are communist nations. He doesn't leave out President Trump when he does get near the very end after all the lavish praises on all these other nations, most of those which are part of the Brexit. Of course, he didn't mention Brazil, but he does then eventually praise President Trump's willingness to work with Kim Jong-un. Of course, that was only after the threat of wiping the country off of the face of the earth, that is. We might also note that as well. But he does talk about it cannot be ignored what Trump has been doing. And then again, you couldn't leave Trump out because this New World Order is heavily dependent on President Trump staying in power in order to make sure that Israel becomes that global New World Order headquarters. Now, I just used a picture here from this article here from the New York Post there. Putin belittles Greta Thunberg's impassioned UN speech at the Energy Forum. He doesn't actually belittle her speech, but he does believe that from the way you can take what he says there, that this little girl is being used to exploit. Her speech is being used to be, is being exploited because of her age and her passion to get into a world, as he puts it, it really belongs to adults. Well, you can take that either here or there. He actually condemns her speech because of the fact that those that brought her to that forum there were exploiting the fact that she is a minor, and so he's got some some basis for doing that. I understand what he means by that. Can't say that I agree with him because at 16 she's still passionate. She believes in what she believes, and she had a right to have a voice. But nonetheless. He's also candid enough to realize that she was being used to exploit this agenda. Also, there was a knife attack at Paris police headquarters. At least 4 officers are dead after the suspect fatally stabbed them, and they shot the suspect, killed him as well at the police headquarters there. Just kind of to show you how serious the situation in France. It is just spiraling completely out of control. The Yellow Vest protests not stopping. It has been months and months and months since they began this protest, and there just seems to be no end in sight. The police are becoming more weary. They talk about these large number of suicides. I have wondered whether or not if it's really police that are committing suicide or if there is a cover-up amongst the French police and they don't really want you to know what's going on. It could be just that instead, that the French police there could be some things that have been happening. There could have been police that have been willing to speak out, and then those police, well, they just mysteriously commit suicide. That's just something I think that people ought to take into consideration. We ought to take a look at rather than just assuming everything is always the worst. At any rate, later today, I was actually started last night doing this recording. I wanted to speak about, it's more on a religious topic that we'd like to get started there. And by the way, I did load the first video over on Fact News Network on YouTube. It's an old clip. It's nothing new, so it's nothing spectacular, but from what I understand, in order for you guys to be able to subscribe there, I've got to have either 2 or 3 videos up. So, and of course this one here, I'm actually recording with my phone on a live broadcast this way here, so I won't be able to load this one there either. But I will start getting some clips put up over there so you guys can subscribe. Again, that's Fact, F-A-C-T, Fact News Network, our YouTube channel there, where we'll be doing our news as well. And it'll kind of simulcast is what we'll do when we're filming here as well as there, in order that we can begin to build up, because we see that we are definitely suppressed on this channel here. So at any rate, those are kind of some of the stories that we're covering right now. As I mentioned, there's a teaching that I want to get into later today. It'll probably air on Danoon Institute first, as well as Patreon. We have a video that we're going to be loading up on Patreon. If I can't get it up there by this evening, I will get it up there by tomorrow on Patreon. A lot going on. And also we have a conference coming up here in Orlando in February. Those of you that may know, I'm on John Moore's program, normally weekly, but I can't always make it weekly with my busy schedule there. But John Moore will be coming to speak at this conference as well about the situation that America is facing from the intel that he has been gathering and suspected by next year. We are very limited on seats on that conference. I will try to get up on our website this evening the information about that conference. There will be a charge for it because we're only limited to 130 seats there. We need to make sure that we cover those seats because I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more people want to come as a result. And so I don't want to run into a situation like we always do. You know, you get so many people that say they're coming, and when it's free, and then still about 20% to 25% never show up. You only get about maybe, you get a few people that are kind enough to let you know that they can't make it, but just a lot of stuff, people run into situations that happen at last minute, and I understand, I do understand, but it puts it in a predicament where we've got people wanting to still come that can't come as a result, and there's no way for them to make preparations. So we're letting you know in advance, and it won't be an expensive fee. It'll probably be like $25 is what I'm thinking per person, but this way we cover the cost as well. The venue is not cheap. It's not like a little hall. I think when we were at one conference there, it only cost them like $300 to do the hall. Unfortunately, here in Orlando, we don't have that type of luxury. I wish we did. And there's not a church that's going to open its doors for me to speak in their church as a venue. So anyway, we use this neutral facility there in Maitland, Florida. It will be at the Embassy Suite Hotels there, like it's always been. It's already been booked. And again, February the 8th, it's a Saturday. John Moore will speak first that morning. Then my wife, Yana, will speak after lunch, and then I'll follow it up at the end of the day. There'll only be three messages that day. Anyway, we look forward to seeing you at that conference there. Haven't given it a title yet or anything like that. God bless you. Thank you for watching. Shalom, shalom.